Hey there, welcome to day 275 of our BU 365-day challenge to do one thing every day that improves us. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and we just finished in September focusing 1 month on each of the 9 areas of the life framework that I use to kind of remove the chaos from my life. And yesterday we rated those and ranked those, and I did those. I didn't get a chance yesterday because I'm getting ready for a big move and things today to compare it to previously in the year, earlier in the year. I'll try to get to that today. But today we're going to talk about habits, and primarily how to kick the bad habits. Our action item today is to share one of your best habits and one habit that you would like to change. I wanted to say best and worst, but I think just a habit that we'd like to change. I have a couple of bad habits that have snuck back into my life for years, literally decades. I think till I was about 40, not even 40, probably 30. I was older than 30, but I wore nails, so probably in my 20s. I definitely for decades bit my fingernails, bit them too, and bit around them to the quick. And now I'm really proud of my nails because these are my nails, but it's taken me, and I wear them pretty short, but it's taken me literally decades to repair and fix and break that habit. Now, if I'd known some of these steps I'm going to share with you today, chances are I could have done it a lot sooner, but we didn't have the internet back then, so I didn't have access to a lot of information, and I wasn't going to go to a hypnotist or to some expert or some shrink to help me stop nail biting. It was a coping mechanism for me that I needed to change, but it took me quite a long time to change it. So think about today, what is one habit that you'd like to change, and then apply these steps. I'm going to share 5 steps, 4 to 14 steps on how we can break a habit. And you decide how complicated or easy you want the process to be. If it's a bad habit you've had for a really long time, like me and nail biting, you might want to use the 14-step process and consider a lot of different facets. If it's just a kind of annoying habit like eating while you watch TV or something that you want to change, then maybe you don't need 14 steps. Maybe you just need 5 or 7 or whatever. So, what are some of the ways to break a bad habit? I think I'm going to share the big list first. And it's not in order because I just took notes in my notebook, which definitely going to need a magnifying glass for. It's very dirty, but we'll see if it'll work. Oh, there we go. Always surrounded by magnifying glasses. I think I've got at least 4 or 5 around here. I'm looking for my big giant one. That one's awesome. Okay, so number 1, know your triggers. What's a trigger? A trigger is something that triggers, like in a gun, sets off the firearm. A trigger stimulates us in some way that automatically sends us into a process that we habitually follow. So if I see a yummy picture of something that looks delicious that I really like to eat, it'll trigger in me a sense of hunger. It'll trigger, maybe I'll salivate. Maybe I'll start putting images in my head of, oh, I'm hungry, that looks so delicious, I want to eat some of that, and things like that. But it triggers set off a process, right? So we want to know our triggers. We want to be mindful and pay attention to the processes that we use and the things that set us off. We want to ask why. Why is this setting me off? Why do I want to eat and overeat caramels all the time because I see a picture of, or I see caramels at the checkout, etc. So then we want to ask ourselves, why do I want to do that? And understand why. Sometimes what we need to do, the next thing we can do is swap habits. So I can swap every time I feel like eating caramel, I can have a piece of fruit or I can have a healthy snack instead. We want to make reminders, and I do things like I hang notes on my refrigerator, or I use Post-it notes, and I don't have one handy, but to remind myself to drink more water. I actually used to tab on little Post-it notes. Every time I had a glass of water, I would put a little hatch mark to train myself, to trigger myself to consume more water. That's how to form a good habit versus kicking a bad habit. Don't ignore your progress. As you're making progress and improving and moving toward the behavior that you want, we want to do things, reminders, routines, and rewards. That's how we form a good habit. We want to change our space. Sometimes we just need to change our area or change our environment in order to form better habits or to break bad habits. We need to be patient with ourselves. We need to prepare for slip-ups. We're going to slip up. Have you ever been on a diet? I don't know about you, but I've been on probably 100 diets in my life, and I guarantee I've slipped up every single time. And sometimes I went back to it, sometimes I just gave up. And the times I gave up, it was because I didn't prepare for knowing that sometimes I wasn't going to always be perfect. Let go of all or nothing thinking. What all or nothing thinking does is it keeps us stuck in negative loops and bad habits. Start small, change something little before you try to break a gigantic habit. If you've been a lifelong smoker, don't make giving up smoking the first habit that you break. Visualize, imagine how your life will be, and I like to do this both negatively and positively to help increase my why I want to change a habit. So I will visualize what my life will be like 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now if I continue down the path of this particular habit. When I was younger, I drank and went out with my friends, just like most kids do, and I realized in my 20s that if I continued that habit, it could go really, really bad. I could become an alcoholic. Not a lot of alcoholics in my family, but there are some. And or I imagined my life if I didn't consume a lot of alcohol. And now I very rarely drink. I think I had a glass of wine this week. So I do consume alcohol. I just don't do it regularly. Like some people drink every single day. I can't even imagine that. I'd be exhausted. So visualize what you want your life to be like, and what both to motivate yourself in a negative way and to motivate yourself in a positive way. Because we always should be moving toward what we want. That's the whole purpose of this challenge. Remember to reward yourself, and if need be, get support, get help. Enlist the help of friends and family and people that you can count on to help you in a positive way. I used to enlist the help of my family to help me lose weight, but I would find that it ended up being way more negative than positive, so I stopped doing that. So what are some habits that we've had? I used to bite my nails, too much caffeine. I definitely consumed a lot of caffeine in my life, and that's one I had to give up. Actually, here's a good habit-breaking story. I gave up Diet Pop in August of 2010, August 1st, 2010. July 31st was the last diet. 2010 was the last pop or soda pop I have consumed. I decided, because I was definitely a soda pop and caffeine and coffee aholic, if there is such a thing. I drank a couple pots of coffee a day. I drank at least 2 liters worth of pop a day, soda pop. It was all bad for me. So I decided that I was going to just give it up, which I will say that's not necessarily the best way to do things, because a month later I had a sudden cardiac arrest and almost died. Not that those were related, but I like to link them and say it's because I had all that formaldehyde in me from the Diet Pop that I actually survived the sudden cardiac arrest, which probably isn't true, but we tell ourselves whatever we want to tell ourselves. So I decided I was going to give up pop, soda pop. Now, if you're used to drinking a couple liters of pop or soda, whatever you call it in your neck of the woods, every day, guess what? You get massive migraines and headaches from the reduction in caffeine, and you take a hit from you're used to drinking something all the time. And I'm one of those people that's always thirsty. I had kidney stones really bad and kidney surgery when I was 27, 28 years old. And so I'm always drinking a lot of fluids. And I gave it up cold turkey. And it literally wasn't until about the 7-year mark, literally 7 years, I craved pop and soda pops. And then finally I started to notice that I didn't miss it anymore. And once I didn't miss it anymore, it became really, really easy to just, I'm not a pop drinker. I just don't drink soda. I don't drink pop. Amazing how much less trash I make without consuming cans and cans and bottles of pop. Anyway, so too much caffeine, diet soda or sodas, too much sugar. I do, every once in a while, I'll do a 10-day challenge where I just no sugar, no sweets. And it's hard. The first 5 days are really hard, the first couple especially. But then after I hit the halfway point, if I'm giving it up for 10 days, once I hit that halfway point, for me, it becomes easy. Because I'm like, all right, I'm more than halfway there. I'm not going to quit now. So I kind of play games with myself to make things work out. Hitting snooze on the alarm clock. I used to hit snooze on my alarm clock all the time, and I realized that I was just frustrating myself and cheating myself and basically lying to myself by not getting up when I said I was going to get up with my alarm. And for a long time, I didn't even need to set an alarm. I'd say, I'm going to wake up at this time, and I'd wake up at this time. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. But if it's important, if I need to catch a plane or something, I must set my alarm so I make sure that I don't, oversleep, etc. So, how do you break a bad habit? That was a lot of steps, a lot of things to break a bad habit. Let's take a simpler version. Let's go with a 5-step process. Number 1, avoid tempting situations. Don't put yourself in environments where you're likely to participate in that habit. If you are trying to cut down on your alcohol consumption, maybe don't go to a bar, right? Or go to a place where they serve alcohol. Number 2, replace unhealthy behavior with a more healthy behavior. You can still go to the bar, order a soda, order a water, order a virgin drink, order a juice, right? There's always alternatives. Number 3, prepare yourself mentally in advance for situations that might be challenging. If you're going to a holiday party, holidays, everybody tries to give up alcohol and sweets around the holidays, which is like setting yourself up for failure, right? Maybe cut back on them, but you don't have to give them up altogether. But prepare yourself mentally for situations where you might have to say no. Practice saying no. One thing I've learned is that by saying no and practicing it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. You're saying no to a habit and yes to yourself. Again, enlist support and help if you need or want or can have that. And then reward yourself for the small victories. If you go to a party and you don't need any sweets and you don't have any alcohol, geez, give yourself some kind of a reward or some kind of whatsoever rewarding to you for doing that. All right. What's our action item today? Pick one habit that you would like to change or improve and share your best habit. Let's just share our best habit in the comments below. I would say mine is routines. Morning routine, evening routine, affirmation routines, etc. Things that I do every day that move me toward what I want. I think those are my best habits. All right, have an awesome day. Any questions, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow.